You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
GOP braces for extinction-level disaster as Americans revolt, based on an article by John Stoher. Trump's theater is eating the GOP. Power has a face. The reporting starts with a familiar Dodge vibes, as if politics were weather and not a record of decisions. The actual power in this story sits with Donald Trump, whose war-making threats, reversals, and public lies are shaping public anger and Republican damage. The GOP is not suffering from bad atmosphere. It is being dragged down by the man who commands its institutions and defines its message. The polls are not the story. Yes, the numbers are ugly for Republicans. Trump's approval among independent voters collapsed from -4 in October 2018 to -53 last month, and even pieces of his base are moving away from him. White voters without college degrees and voters ages 45 to 64 are no longer providing the stable cushion the party depended on. But the poll movement is not an abstraction. It is a reaction to concrete consequences, the Iran war, the economic fallout, and a president whose signature talent is turning crisis into self-exposure. Brinkmanship as theater. The AP account matters because it strips away the mythology. Trump threatens to obliterate Iranian infrastructure, then backs off at the last minute. He brands this as hardball. It is not hardball. It is performative coercion, escalation for attention, retreat for convenience, and then a lie to cover the gap. That is not strategy in any serious sense. It is bullying by a weak executive who wants the fear without the responsibility. The lie machine is doing the real work. Trump's response to public rejection is not correction but fraud. He dismisses polls as fake, folds critics into the radical left, and invents success because reality is too humiliating to accept. That is the central operating system here. When the facts turn against him, he does not adapt. He corrupts the record. The result is a political culture in which failure is never admitted and damage is always externalized. The blame should stay on the people with power. The story gestures toward democratic vulnerabilities, cash shortages, and weak candidates in some districts. That may be true, but it is not the governing fact. The governing fact is that Trump is making the decisions, and Republicans are choosing to remain tethered to them. If the party is headed toward an extinction-level event, that is not because voters are confused. It is because the party has built itself around a leader who treats governance as improvisational sabotage and expects everyone else to absorb the cost. The pattern is bigger than one bad cycle. This is what authoritarian politics looks like when it runs into reality: noise, denial, escalation, retreat, and a steady demand that everyone else pretend the performance is strength. The press keeps translating that into vibes because that language is safer than naming responsibility. But the pattern is plain. A political movement built around a strawman ends up governed by his instability, his lies, and his need to keep the country trapped inside his delusions. The damage is not incidental to the style. It is the style. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to AlterNet for today's article. With the automated voice of Sam, thanks for listening.